Hello and welcome to Inside Indiana Business. I'm Gary Dick. From Amazon to Microsoft to Twitter and many others, dozens of tech companies nationwide laying off tens of thousands of employees. Since the start of the year alone, several hundred tech companies have laid off more than 200,000 workers. At that rate, the tech industry could cut more than 900,000 jobs this year, nearly 6 times the total for last year. That according to tech layoff tracker layoffs.fyi. But is a different story emerging here in Indiana. This week, TechPoint announced the nominees for the 24th Annual Mira Awards, honoring the best in tech in Indiana. The nonprofit Growth Accelerator says nearly 80 nominees chosen from a record number of entries. Nominees, companies employing some 57,000 Hoosiers, generating more than $20 billion in revenue. Meantime, Hoosier tech companies reporting $441 million in capital investment last year. That's the second highest number since TechPoint began publicly tracking those numbers. And several tech companies have already landed big funding rounds this year. So what is the outlook for the tech sector in Indiana? How does it compare to the nation? For some answers, pleased to be joined by TechPoint President and CEO Ting Goody, and also Elevate Ventures CEO Christopher Day with a look at the state of tech in Indiana. And welcome to you both.
Thank you, Gary.
I'm going to have each of you kind of tee it up here. Ting, as you look at the state of technology, the sector here in Indiana, see nationally these big numbers might frighten a lot of people. Say, man, is the industry in the tank? What's the situation here in Indiana?
Yeah, excellent question. I think in response to some of the national tech layoffs, it's good to keep in context. A lot of these are in reaction to the hyper hiring that's taken place during the pandemic. Locally, Indiana, based on the number we're tracking, the tech workforce demand is still outstripping supply by a factor of 2. And we're also actively in conversations with roughly 200 tech employers in our state, ranging from startups to big companies, and less than 8% of them have conducted layoffs.
So less than 8%?
Yes.
Yeah, statewide. Toph, I know we were talking off camera, the three of us, and you both talk about this being an opportunity, especially for startups and young companies to get talent, because that's been a big issue.
Yeah, absolutely. The talent, as we all know, is extremely hard to get, and I do believe that this is a golden age or a golden opportunity for the startups and the scale-ups. So there's been roughly over 200,000 layoffs nationwide. We are seeing rapid absorption of those folks into startups and scale-ups across the state.
As you look at the investment numbers from Elevate Ventures last year was a record number. How does, as you get into 2023, there have been some companies that have scored on some funding rounds. What's the landscape? What's kind of the vibe out there in the investment community?
Yep. So we've never been more excited. We had 128 investments last year, 22.8 million in investments that we funded. We had 34.9 commitments, 34.9 million in commitments, 183 companies that we've committed to, so they're still raising their rounds. I believe it's more robust than ever. We're seeing disparate stakeholders throughout the state lean in with new ideas to help companies get started, to help them grow. And I think our companies throughout the state historically grow more efficiently than other markets throughout the country. And so we're expecting another record-breaking year.
Ting, as you look at TechPoint, second highest number last year from an investment standpoint, do you see that continuing this year in this environment?
Yeah, absolutely. Probably most exciting thing to me is how technology, particularly during the pandemic, has becoming such a key growth sector, really economic growth factor across various sectors. And that's ranging from digital transformation activities that are happening in all industries, and that's also from some of the cutting edge tech initiatives that's happening in the federal and state levels, as well as continued domination in terms of a tech venture creation in our state.
Yeah, start with you on this, Ting, but you mentioned some of the initiatives at the federal level. There's talk about creation of these tech hubs around the country. Indiana looked at as one as possibly semiconductors. See what's happening at Purdue and some other places around the state of Indiana. Skywater technology there, billions of dollars being invested. Can Indiana become one of those tech hubs?
Absolutely, and I think Indiana is being very strategic in terms of leveraging these existing assets in our state. For instance, tech already are contributing well over $50 billion a year to our annual GDP, and it's employer 115,000 people in our state. Keep in mind that nearly 3/4 of those people are employed in non-core sectors that represent future growth opportunities.
And Toph, things like hydrogen, there's a lot of movement there and talk of a possible hydrogen hub. I know Cummins and companies like BP are very actively involved that could go in Northwest Indiana. Could that become a reality?
Yes, absolutely. As we all, well, maybe not all of us, but as many of us know, Cummins, for example, has really been leaning into hydrogen technology, and they see that as the future of engines, 10 and 20, 50 years out. And we have a great environment in Northwest Indiana, and I know that the state is looking heavily at developing a hydrogen hub up there, which is truly exciting. And if you also think about all the other startups and scale-ups that will spawn off of that environment, it's definitely exciting.
I know we heard from Purdue's new president, Mung Chiang, this week at an event we hosted. Tech corridor stretching from downtown Indy, 63 miles to West Lafayette. This is longer term, obviously, but pretty ambitious vision.
Yes, absolutely. So as President Chiang mentioned yesterday at breakfast, there are 63 miles between Purdue University and downtown Indianapolis. And Indiana will be known as the hard tech corridor in that stretch of 63 miles with Skywater on one end and downtown Indianapolis on the other.
Yeah, Ting, as you look at the challenge of your workforce, supplying that pipe, filling that pipeline, can Indiana get that job done?
Yes, we have wonderful higher ed institutions. That's really the 5th largest net student importers in the country. And we really have an opportunity to not only keep up our training, excellent talent across various pathways around different sectors, but also do a better job of retaining those top talent. Right now, less than 40% are being actively retained. Yeah,
it's the key, keeping them. And I'll give you the final word, Toph. I know you're out there, talking about Indiana as an innovation hub. That it can be. It's not just talk, but it can be that innovation hub.
Absolutely. Our vision is, and we absolutely believe that that Indiana has the opportunity to be the innovation capital of the world. We have all the ingredients to do it, and it's just time to go do it.
Christopher Day from Elevate Ventures and Ting Goody from TechPoint. Thank you both for joining us. We'll have you on again, I'm sure, in the future.
Thank you.